Once Gastly reaches the outside of the Pokemon Tower, it tries to float away from the tower, only to bump into a strange invisible barrier. Gastly tries again, thinking it just imagined this barrier, but it happens again. Confused, Gastly licks the barrier, since that's the only way it can feel physical objects now. The barrier is definitely there, and it seems to be some sort of Pokemon move or ability. There is something stopping it from escaping the confines of the tower. Defeated, Gastly returns to the tower and floats back to the Whiscash grave. Gastly sighs and sits atop the grave, thinking. Somewhere in the tower is a Pokemon that has created a barrier to stop all the ghost Pokemon from getting out, which is why there's so many of them in here. They allow trainers to come and train in here in order to capture some of the ghost Pokemon and make sure there's not too many crowded in here. Gastly begins to float back and forth, thinking about how it's going to get out of here. If there is a Pokemon in the tower that created the barrier, then it would make sense that if it was knocked out, the barrier would also disappear. Gastly has decided. It'll look around for this Pokemon and try to escape, as well as let all the other ghost types out so they can spread across Kanto to find a new home, their old trainer, or even just a sense of freedom. Now, it's only a case of trying to find out what floor this Pokemon is on. Gastly, still floating back and forth, tries to decide whether it should go up or down. It asks around, but all the ghost types ignore this Gastly. Even other Gastly stay away from this one. The reason why is because Gastly remembers its past life, something that is very rare for ghost types. Gastly decides it should make its way to the bottom of the tower, but it's afraid that if it does, the other trainers on the lower floors will want to battle it, or even try to catch it, which it really doesn't want. It wants to see its old trainer again, from when it was a Whiscash. So Gastly makes up its mind. It's going to risk it all to see him again. Its trainer. Gastly will stop at nothing now that its mind is made up. Gastly phases through the floor and takes a quick look around. The grave is on the 5th floor. There are 10 floors, so it's only 4 floors up and 4 floors down from there. Floating below the ceiling of floor 4, Gastly looks around. It can see a myriad of Pokemon. Gastly, Haunter, Duskull, Litwick and more. It seems like this floor is clear, so Gastly cautiously floats down to the bottom of floor 4. Then takes a quick look around to see if it can find any Pokemon hiding that could be creating the barrier. Unfortunately, there is nothing around that seems to fit the bill. Moving on to floor 3, Gastly drops straight through the floor. Gastly takes a quick look around and notices a few people visiting graves. They don't appear to be trainers who can detect ghost-type Pokemon, so Gastly sneaks down and takes a quick look around for anything that could have created the barrier. There is nothing here, so Gastly phases through the ground once more to move on to floor 2. Once there, Gastly floats around, looking for any sign of the creator of the barrier, but there's still nothing here. Gastly sighs loudly and starts to droop down in depression. It's then that Gastly is caught off guard by a water gun attack. Angry and wet, Gastly shakes off the water and looks around to find a trainer near the stairs leading down to floor 1. The trainer has a Wartortle that looks like it means business. Wartortle, rapid fire, water gun, go! The trainer shouts to its Wartortle. Wartortle nods and starts spraying these short blasts of water at Gastly. While trying to remember what moves it can use, Gastly quickly floats around in circles to dodge the attack. It's then that Gastly accidentally uses Double Team. Gastly then runs into its own Double Team and gets spooked by its own image. This is the first time it's actually seen what it looks like as a Gastly. While Gastly is paralysed in fear, the trainer readies their Wartortle for the next attack. Bite, let's go! Wartortle launches itself towards Gastly, readying itself for a good chomp. It's in this moment where a surge of ghost-type energy erupts from Gastly's terrified eyes. The powerful Nightshade attack blasts Wartortle down to the ground. Wartortle cries in agony as it lands directly on its shell, cracking it and the ground it landed on. Shocked by what it's done without realising, Gastly starts to panic by quickly floating around in crooked circles. Wartortle, Wartortle, can you hear me? Say something, come on buddy, speak to me. The cries of the distraught trainer echoes all throughout the 1st and 2nd floors. Another trainer from the first floor rushes up to help the trainer and their war turtle. Gastly accidentally uses another move. This time, a large rain cloud engulfs the ceiling of floor 2, and it begins a heavy downpour of rain, crashing down on the trainers and war turtle. This helps war turtle to wake up, but still in pain, it struggles to say anything. The trainers lift war turtle up carefully and find shards of its shell and a crack on the ground. They both gasp and look at each other in horror. Then they rush to the stairs leading down to floor 1, hoping to get war turtle to the Lavender Town Pokémon Center. Now that war turtle is gone, Gastly begins to calm down. Gastly droops down, exhausted, looking around for any other trainers. It appears that not only have all the people left this floor, but all the Pokemon have too. Gastly lands on top of a grave, then turns around to read it. Here lies Beedrill, master of Pin Missile, friend to us all. Gastly sighs again and closes its eyes. While its eyes are closed, Gastly thinks. It thinks back to a time where it was still a Whiscash. It was its second battle as a Whiscash. Back then, Whiscash had trouble controlling its own attacks, because it wasn't used to the massive stat changes that come with evolution. It remembers something its trainer told it after that battle. Whiscash, when you're in battle, you have to stay calm and don't let your new strengths take control of you. You have to stay calm and let it flow through you. Don't let it explode out of you. You have to feel the energy within before you let it out. Thinking on this, Gastly realises that it could control its new ghost type attacks. It's a natural part of its new life, and it shouldn't reject it. Gastly realises that there's nothing to be afraid of, and that this is a new opportunity for it, a chance to try new moves and new ways of living. Gastly smiles its eerily big grin, then begins to float again. Eager to get out, Gastly heads straight for the staircase to the next floor. Gastly bangs its head on an invisible barrier once again. Annoyed by the barrier, Gastly takes a breath and then uses Nightshade. Nothing. The barrier didn't break. Gastly tries bashing itself against it, but to no avail. Gastly sighs once more, but doesn't give up. Instead, it floats back up to the 5th floor, where a Whiscash grave lies. Gastly looks up at the ceiling of floor 5, then nods to itself in agreement. It's going to go up and hope the Pokemon it's looking for is on floor 6. Gastly floats up to floor 6, popping half its head through the floor to look around, but it can't see much, so it decides to pop out of the floor completely. Gastly doesn't see much of anything, just a few ghost Pokemon floating around, pretending to be docile creatures.